just so people don't jump to conclusions and start trying to put words in my mouth, I speak very eloquently most of the time, and I can articulate pretty well. And I don't need anyone to be my voice box or speak for me. I speak very well for myself. And I say that to say this. I'm going to give credit first before I begin this small or brief session on two individuals who fought one another back in the UFC in 1995, and that is none other than Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock. I want to say that I have a great deal of respect for both of those men as human beings and as martial artists. I do. So someone's going to read into what I'm saying after I've already given a disclaimer and said that I'm not attacking them. I'm just making an observation, and I'm just telling the truth. Not my opinion, but I'm telling the truth. If it's raining outside, for example, we see the water falling from the sky, and I say it's raining, and somebody say, well, it's not raining. Well, if it actually is raining, that's the truth and not my opinion. It is actually occurring, whether someone else says different or not. What is actually occurring? It is raining. So if I tell you something that I can see with my own eyes and other people can see with their own eyes, and they know that we all are seeing the same thing, but there's other people that want to say something different than what we have all seen, then they have an agenda. It's really that simple. Now, getting back to Gracie and Shamrock, I just want to say that there's a distinct difference between sport, martial arts related events, versus real fighting. I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Ken Shamrock was labeled the deadliest man in the world at some point during his UFC debut. You know, you got a guy that's been working out in the gym who's kind of buff, coming into the ring with this certain persona, and I guess his aggressiveness at his age at the time. And he did well when he fought Royce. But by no stretch of the imagination, I don't think we should ever think of him as the deadliest man in the world. What the heck does that mean? It's a sporting event. How can you ascertain that just from a sporting event? You can't. Not really. The same is true similarly with Royce Gracie. A very good tactician on the ground, but he's not a great fighter. As a matter of fact, either one of those or neither one of those men are great fighters. Now, they might be in reality, and we haven't seen that side of them, but there's no way in the world that you can say, just by virtue of a sporting event, that these both are great fighters. In a sporting event, you can say that, but you have to make the difference. There are people of the impression that these are very, very deadly men when it comes down to a street confrontation. You know, this is the problem that gets to me, is when we say that a certain individual is deadly and he is a master of this and he's a master of that when it comes to fighting. That's a loaded question, or statement rather. Fighting. When you say fighting, what is fighting? You mean sport competition? Because in the ring, in the octagon, that's not a fight on any level. Now, you might sweat, you might get fatigued, might have a few scrapes and bruises, might get submitted, but it's not a fight. It's not a real fight. The real fight is outside of that arena, on the street, on the concrete, in the grass, in the gravel, in an alley, in a restaurant. Those are fights. Have we seen that side of them? So if we haven't, how do we label either one of them deadly exponents of the martial arts? You can't do that. It's a sport, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep it in its proper place. Royce, love the guy. Great tactician again on the ground. You could tell that he spent a whole lot of mat time. Now, he was the instrument that helped the Gracies become famous here in America, in the world. Royce was that first person that walked into the octagon. Shamrock rode on the tail of that by being a participant. But it does not garner him any special privileges or any particular right to be called. He hasn't said this to my knowledge, but by anybody, that he's the deadliest man on the planet. Sometimes people, because they use these embellishments, they walk around with their chest stuck out as if they really are. Now, if it was a real fight, what fight in the street that's a real fight takes 15-20 minutes on the ground? I don't know of any real fight that takes that long. So that answers my question, or the question. Are they fighters? Are they great fighters? We don't know that. We know that one or the other is a great sports martial arts practitioner, and that's the end of it. I believe Royce said this himself some years ago in an interview when he was asked that if he was attacked in a multiple situation, what would happen? He said he would be in trouble. I'm not quoting him verbatim, but that's what he said in essence. He'd be in trouble. Because if your mainstay is ground fighting, what are you going to do when 3 guys jump on you? Or 2 guys? You can't take one down and take 2 minutes to submit that person as you would in an octagon situation with a referee and with a time clock, without the other person jumping on you and beating your head in. So that's not fighting. That's my point. Can you take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any other Jiu-Jitsu that glorifies itself on the ground and say that it is an effective martial arts system, when all you see when they start the match, the Jiu-Jitsuan, in this particular instance, BJJ, trying to shoot for the person's legs to take them to the ground? So where is their stand-up game at? There is none. So you are only one element. You only rely on one element when you should be whole. My philosophy is this: from standing to the ground, you should be effective standing all the way to the ground, not only effective on the ground. So, for example, if 2 men in the street were about to fight, one guy tries to take him to the ground, it lets you know that that's his element. That's the thing he knows the best, but that's not really fighting. You better hope his cousins are not there. So this is what I've noticed over the years. We have spoiled some people in MMA, so-called mixed martial arts, in that world of sport. And it is a sport. Make no mistake, I'm not saying that there are not great martial artists that participate in that particular genre of sports, martial arts. I'm not saying that there are not some good fighters in there, because there are. But a lot of these guys are riding on glory. A lot of these guys have gotten so much national recognition and even worldwide recognition for being sports participants and not great martial artists at all. And they have not denounced any of it. They've just ridden in the parade, so to speak. You know, they've taken all of the glory on their shoulders with a grain of salt and say, well, if people are going to praise me like this and give me all these types of accolades, I'm going to accept it and never say anything negative about myself. They're not going to do it because they liked The attention. They love the attention. The front page of magazines and newspapers and periodicals and television commercials and billboards and clips and how should I say, what do you call those, when you have I know what it is, when you're in some of these videos and or movies and you have just a small space in there. I know what it is. I'm not thinking of it right now. But anyway, cameo, I think it is. So you just appear just for a short period of time in some of these things. But anyway, long story short is that a lot of these guys are getting undue credit for being great martial artists and great fighters, and they're really not. All they are is individuals that are martial arts practitioners that excel in one aspect of martial arts, and then they've gloried in that, or I should say they have spent a lot of time in one aspect of it, and they're lacking in other aspects of it. In my estimation, this is me. Not to say that it's biased, but this is me saying this. I'm expressing it from brother teacher to you. Is this: if you're going to be a martial artist, a true martial artist, true to the term martial artist, then you need to be well versed in striking, kicking, hand strikes or upper body striking, and ground fighting, and you need to know something about pressure points to make you complete, to make you whole. Even if you study one particular system that emphasizes more kicking, you need to be aware of and have some working knowledge of the other striking arts and or pressure point systems. You need to know that. I'm not saying that you have to delve into all of these other things hook, line, and sinker and try to learn them 100% from beginning to end, but get the fundamentals down, get the basics down, and incorporate those things into your own system and or art if it's void of those things. And that will make you a better martial arts practitioner, and it will also make you a better fighter. But to only say that all I can do is take a person to the ground, you have very much limited yourself. That was all I had to say. I'm going to get some trolls here and there. And there's certain ones that like to say, Stroud, call me by my last name. Stroud, you don't know what. First of all, you're showing disrespect by just calling me by my name like that, as if I'm somebody that's not important. I already know how important I am. I don't need anyone to try to validate me. But I'd rather just be called sir, or just call me teacher, brother teacher, or grandmaster, or Shifu. It doesn't matter. But as long as it's with good taste. And if you get too much out of line, I'll just block you. It's really that simple. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you think about my discourse here with you today. Some of these guys in these sporting events again get way too much credit. They've made way too much money and become even millionaires under false pretenses, under the guise of being great fighters, when indeed a lot of them are just good fighters and limited. Again, I love Ken Shamrock. I want to call him Ken Shamrock, and Royce as well. You guys, you have a great day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you may be. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and keep training if you are a martial arts practitioner, because life is short. So long.